alright, this is not going to be a doomer video or anything like that. I'm just going to try and provide information that's going to help people who are in similar situations, as the one that I've gone through. So, because I know a lot of people finding this hard, even for me, just to get this information has been like pretty much a year and 4 months, I want to say. So yeah, it's just going to be from the top of my head. I didn't get an ADHD assessment because it was just way too much money. But I'm just going to go through sort of what I did, and it seems to be the only reputable one that is sort of the cheapest, I want to say, even though it's not cheap at all. But it's something that is legitimate and actually helps. I think the first thing is, if you're going to go through the NHS, it's not a good idea. Just looking at statistics for autism, I mean, there's a BBC. I mean, you take for a pinch of salt from the BBC, but with stats, it's pretty kind of is what it is. But they were saying that it takes up to 300 days wait to get a diagnosis, which I don't think that's correct. I started talking to the GP last year. It was around October when the whole autism stuff started coming up and we were talking about it. But it was only this year that when I got COVID, because we basically tried doing it through the National Autistic Society, which took about, I think, 6 to 8 months, and at the end they couldn't do it because the funding they don't provide. Well, they couldn't provide that specific practice or area, so I'd start from scratch again, and then starting from scratch again, they couldn't even give me a time scale on how long this was going to take. So just to give you a comparison with the NHS for ADHD, the wait list from when this started is going to be 3 years, and that's just for that. So for autism, if they're not even giving you a time scale, that means it's like there's no chance. There is absolutely no chance. I mean, I've even read online some people waiting more than 5 years for it. It's just, it's not possible. It is possible, but you're going to be in a lot of pain and just trying to like navigate this stuff. So yeah, if you're going to do it through the NHS, they don't help. They don't help. They say things that just make your situation worse. I mean, even with autism, even with the autism, the first GP I had was saying that the conversation only came up because he's saying, "Oh, you're just like depressed," and that was it. And the only reason why I went down this avenue is because I just did some research and I printed off a load of papers. You basically have to become a medical professional yourself. Print out all documents, all medical papers, put them in a folder and show it to the GP. That's how extreme it was. When I did that and showed them, they were like, okay, yeah, you're onto something, which that shouldn't be the case at all, but it's so stressful and it's what you have to do, which is just absurd. I mean, it'd be like going into them and saying, like, I've got a massive gash on my leg and it's going to fall off, I need to help me, and they just say, oh, here, let's just put on a plaster just for the time being and we'll sort it out later. Yeah. So that's the first thing. The next thing is, if you want to get it done, you have to go private, which is unfortunate, but it's just the way. I mean, I just paid for this in the end because it was getting just too much, and there was like nowhere to turn or to look to, and it wasn't great. But a lot of them charge so much money. When I was looking at the National Autistic Society, with them doing it privately, it was it was ridiculous. I think from the top of my head it was about £3,700, £800. So you need... I'm just having a quick look at it now, because I did this like last year when I was really looking into it. It's just absurd having to pay like £4,000. To get this, I'm actually trying to look for it now, but I remember it being really hard to find on their website. I had to do some digging, and eventually I found it, where it said, the private service, and then you can do it, and it had how much it costs as well. I think it was through the Lorna Wing Centre. They do have one that you can get a grant for, but I tried that, but it just, with the battling with the GPs as well, the first GP had no idea how any of this stuff worked. The second one dismissed it all and said, you can't do it through that, you have to do it through the normal process, which is wait numerous years up until you get a diagnosis, and that was that. So yeah, there were some others that I found, but they were still like £2,000+, which, if you're going through a hard time like this and financially things are not there either, you're kind of forced into a situation where you have to make it worse in order to get better, which makes no sense, but it's kind of the only route you can take. So the one I did it with was called adultautism.ie. That's the website. They're based in Ireland, but they do it for UK residents and also Ireland and EU residents. I don't have any knowledge on Ireland or EU stuff, because obviously I didn't do it for that, and my paperwork is not for that, it's for UK only, but they do it for that. I did see some psychologists that also said worldwide as well, but you'd have to look into that. I think if you email them, they'll help you and they'll let you know. I mean, I emailed them initially and they were pretty responsive, and it was actually quite good. So yeah, it just that would be the case. I mean, this is more specific for UK, because obviously I've done it and I know what it is, so I can explain what it is and sort of how it came to that conclusion. But if you just want the autism only, it's £940. They do allow you to do it in payments in like stages, so it basically gets split into, you make one initial payment, which is £200 and something, and then the other 3 payments are done each month, but they do allow you to push it back a little bit if you're struggling, which is also good as well. If you want to do there's a combined autism and ADHD one, but it's £1,440, so it's starting to get pretty expensive. Yeah, and just for the autism one, because that's the one I did, to actually have it carried out, the wait time was about 2 months. It's still not great, but it beats 5 years, 3 years, any of that nonsense. So that's okay there. The actual diagnosis itself it's pretty brutal, because they ask you to think about a lot of things that were not great in your life. Especially if you don't talk about a lot of things anyway. It's like if you're quite reserved and you don't really like dealing with people in general, apart from like maybe someone you trust, but I would say that's rare. It's super brutal. I mean, after the first session, like the next day, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't do anything. Just it takes a lot out of you, and it's 3 sessions of about 1 hour. So the first 2 sessions, it's a lot of questions and asking stuff. I mean, I did email them for the second session just to lay off the intense stuff a little bit. Like they can ask it, but they didn't want to go into it like super detailed. Not just trauma stuff, but just how you like act and operate and deal with things in life. I think from my perspective, doing it at a later stage in life, I'm 36, and doing a lot of stuff is pretty. You read through the documents, and it says a lot of things that you some things you knew about, some things you didn't, and it's sort of it can make things a little bit more difficult as well as helping. So yeah, so the way they do it through the criteria of the DSM 5 TR. That's how they do the diagnosis for it. So yeah, after the 3 hour sort of appointments you have after that, you get a follow-up session of 1 hour, which is that they basically give you like what you want to do for the future, or who you want to speak to, things like that. That's also free, well, not free, but included with the £940, and then you get supporting documents as well, which are beneficial, I would say. So you get the documents you get are you get an appendix DSM 5 TR autism criteria mapping document for you. You get a brief identification letter. You also get a GP letter. And you also get an extensive identification letter as well. So you get those 4 things linked to you specifically. If you want to get because I had a chat with them about it, if you want to get something like a PIP letter to give to them to help you for that, then they do supply that, but that's €100, which is about, I think, £83 conversion rate, I think, on top of my head. So you can get that as well, but they said put the documents through first and then see from there, but they shouldn't oppose it so much, because it's like official through psychologists, and it's all, they do it to the exact criteria, so it's quite black and white in that sense. You also get 3 other documents, and I got here, there was options for equitable requirements, options for healthcare passport, like if you go to a different country, it just kind of matches up for the healthcare provider from what I understand, but I don't know, that's not much for me. There's also one for, it's like a document for friends and family that you can like give to people. If you're not autistic and you read this, then a lot of it's going to be a surprise, but if you have been looking into this for a while and you read this document, a lot of it makes sense. It's just the whole like neurotypical, neurodivergent difference that you have on it. So yeah, I think in that sense it's it is beneficial, and it does help. But this is the cheapest one that I found, and the most extensive for what it is, because there are a lot of, I don't want to call them scams, but I don't know how to identify them, but I was looking at 2 others that were cheaper. They were like £700, another one was £900, but the reviews for them were bad. They'd have a lot of things where in small print it would say if you have to get another thing, it will cost another £250, and all these add-ons and things like that. It was a bit dangerous, but just for me, I tend to like really go into hyperfocus and research things like really extensively. I think one of my criteria is even for buying like a pencil sharpener for my artwork, it took me like 2 weeks just to purchase the right one because of research and like going into it extensively and just not looking at anything else. But yeah, it does open up a bit of a can of worms because, I mean, from my perspective, I've been masking one person for a lot of decades, and I've been masking my business partner for about 11 years. So, because I've had a lot of conversations, I mean, even through like chats and stuff on like YouTube specifically, people have said, you don't sound, but not, like they wouldn't put me and come across as me as being someone who's autistic. But a lot of the things I do, it just, if you saw it would make sense. But you need to have a document and like match it up, but that's not real life. So a lot of people just think of how they think, and then that's it. It's the same with all the other stuff for me. But even, for example, with things like, I've been in the property industry, but I had someone who I could ask questions to and get information directly, and it was one-on-one. So it was very, like, the information that I gained for like property developments, contracts, lawyers, solicitors, small print, it was all on that basis. So it was all there. But when it's like a massive group of people and you have to navigate that, it just doesn't work for me, anyways. It's the same with the golf as well. So I never played golf. I kind of like played it just to knock about when I was like maybe 15. But you just go, you hit a ball, you don't know what you're doing. Like, no, not looking into anything. But I became basically a golf coach in the span of like 3 to 4 years, which is basically professional if you want to look at it in that sense. But it was only because I had someone one-on-one and I could talk to and get information, understand, and it wasn't groups or anything big like that. I mean, even when it came to coaching, one-on-one was it, because in my mind, more people is just difficult. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, I don't understand how you can give information to a group of people, because everybody's different and they all have their different needs and requirements, and it just doesn't make any sense. It's similar to the whole gaslighting thing as well. But it would be like if someone came to me and said, I want to improve and be a professional, and they have like kids and a mortgage and work long hours, it would be really bad if I just lied to them and said, yes, you can do it, which is just not the case. I would have to say to them, you would have to get a job that you has minimum hours. You can spend maybe 2/3 of your day being on the course, practicing your short game, practicing your long game, having TrackMan GC quad numbers to see that you're actually improving with actual physical statistics, and then you go from there. But this is the thing that I see a lot of the time with people talking about experiences. People don't understand that everybody individually has their own requirements, and their situation is different to you. You can't take one person and match it onto someone else. To me, it's impossible, because you don't know their environment, their financial situation, their family, their brain chemistry, what their emotional needs and requirements are. You don't know any of that. So it's just really, it's really difficult in that sense. Unless someone said something very specific and very to the point. I use golf for an example because I did it for a long time and I was really into it. Like I said, I want to increase my swing speed, which is like very basic, and it's very exact. There's no other bits around it. So and there'll be options for it. You could either improve your technique, improve your synchronization, in terms of how you're generating power from the ground, or third option is you go to the gym and you improve your muscles, ligaments, and how efficient you are with firing them. And then those things will increase, because then you get an exact number. When you hit the ball, the machine tells you, yes, it's more or less, and then you can look at that each week or each month or however long you want to do it. So yeah, sorry it's a bit of a rant going into golf, but it's the only thing I can use in my personal experience. It's not going to be the same to everyone else, but it's something that I can relate as like an exact thing, without good, because going into like emotional stuff and gaslighting and you're just strange, you're odd, you're weird, that doesn't help, because most people have had that, so it's quite a hard one, because there's more factors to that. Same with like bullying and things like that, or being like beaten up and all that stuff. I think that the main point of the video is just to, like, this one is good. You get the documents you need if you need assistance with PIP. You get documents you need if you need it for work or for friends and family. It's just, you have a document there, but you know what they're like. You just give it to them, they'll say, oh no, that wasn't it. They may either say it's not true, you've never been like that, I've never seen you do that, I've never seen you act like that. Just, you get that whole thing, but it's there if you need it. So yeah, you've got that. I don't know if there's anything else I need to add to this that could help people. But I think that's pretty much it. But this stuff should be looked at when you're young. Like it 100% should be. I've read a few experiences of people saying they had it done young and it made their life bad as well, which I get that. I can understand that situation as well. But from my experience, having this done now, reading through it and what you've been doing, yes, your life may have not changed. Your special interests and stuff may have been the same, but at least you'd have a fighting chance of navigating things in the real world. Like, for example, you shouldn't have to be going on the internet and learning how to shave, how to do basic things, interactions with people. I literally masked and copied the other person of how they react, but they're more extroverted, so it just didn't work for me. So it was just like completely mixed up all the time. Reading psychology books on dating, which is pretty extreme, but you shouldn't have to be doing things like that. But it's when you're not in the know-how of what this is and what it encompasses, then you've got a bit of a problem, because then you're getting told that you're doing it wrong, you shouldn't do this, you need to change this, you're like that because of this. It becomes very difficult, and even with the whole advice thing, I always take advice stuff with a massive pinch of salt, because for example, when you've got someone who financially has a lot and they've got no worries in that respect, I'm talking for basic things, for like food, shelter, and just like living, and they're telling you to do something that is just, it's not viable. It's so stupid, but it's the same joke as, you're poor, just buy a house. Like that sort of, it's bad. So yeah, I think that's the information I need to give on it. I think that can maybe help quite a few people. I mean, if you have to go into debt for this, at least you can get some assistance, and then you pay it off, and then you've got at least something to do whatever. Whether you want to use that little extra bit of money for like buying a special interest thing that you have, or if you want to go out to the gym, or you have money to pay for like the zoo or animals or help them or something like that. At least you've got something for that instead of going into like more debt. But it's not only that, you have all the other documents for work and for other things as well, so that is really, it's really helpful for that aspect as well. Yeah, I mean, if anyone's got any questions, just put it in the comments and I'll just have a look and yeah, just I can only do it from my experience and what I've done, but I think from doing this for over like I think it's more than a year and a half now, it's just, yeah, it's difficult, but yeah, at least you know, and you can try and maybe navigate it better. But that's from my understanding of what I'm reading and going through. So yeah. See you later.